Now let's bring in a strong supporter of Roy Moore, Janet Porter. She's the founder and president of the Ohio-based group Faith to Action, which hosted a news conference by faith leaders in Birmingham, Alabama that Roy Moore attended. You say you've known Roy Moore for more than 20 years. Tell us about the man you know.
I know the man that is good, who has a character of impeccable values. He is godly, and that's just not something you can fake every single day for 40 years in a row. It just can't be done.
That's not necessarily true. There are a lot of people in history who have claimed to be men of the cloth, faith leaders, and they've turned out to be scam artists. And I'm not saying Roy Moore is, but we can't say that you can't fake it for 20 years because people have.
Well, let's take a look at the evidence. Not only do we have this man of impeccable character for 40 years without a rumor of anything that could possibly be going wrong with his behavior, but
that's not true. There are definitely rumors, and this is a man who was removed from the bench twice, so we can't say impeccable.
Well, he's removed from the bench for standing for the 10 Commandments. I think it'd be a really good thing if those 10 Commandments were still in place, because
he was removed
I don't know, that maybe some
bench.
people would see things like "Thou shalt not bear false witness."
He was breaking the law.
Right about
Janet,
now.
He was breaking the law. He was removed from the bench for breaking the law.
He was standing for the law of God, and he was standing for religious liberty. But let's get to the evidence of the case, can we?
We have a separation of church and state.
We have the freedom of religion, not from religion. But let's get to the facts of the case. Not only do I not believe the Washington Post-driven, baseless allegations without evidence on the eve of an election, we have even the own accuser's stepson. Beverly Nelson's own stepson doesn't believe her. But here's more. Not only that, her own attorney doesn't believe her. Gloria Allred, why do you think she won't release the yearbook? Listen to an interview that happened on your network. It was a very good interview on Thursday by Kate Snow. She asked the question no one's asking, and that is, if independent analysis shows that this is not his signature, does that disprove the claims, your client's allegations? Gloria's response was, quote, "No, it doesn't." What that means is that I don't care if my client's lying. I don't care if the evidence is a forgery. That's not going to stand in the way of my campaign against Judge Moore, because it's not about the facts. It's not about the evidence. It's not about the women. It's about an effort to take down a good man, an elected Democrat in Alabama.
Let's put Beverly Young aside. What about Lee Corfman, who spoke to Savannah Guthrie this morning on the Today Show? She has a story. Do you disbelieve that, too?
Well, if you talk to her mom, as Breitbart did, Nancy Wells said, hey, you know how this whole thing originated? We were convinced to do it by the Washington Post.
No, that's not
a direct quote.
That's not.
Let me read you the direct quote. I'm going to give you the direct quote. We wouldn't have direct quote from the mother of Lee Corfman. We wouldn't have done it if the reporters hadn't contacted my daughters. Were you convinced to do it? And the answer was yes.
There's a lot of context you're missing there, Janet.
Lee Corfman's actual words. We have Lee's reasoning why she came forward. Let's listen in.
I think that we're
going to listen in on Lee's words. We don't actually have it in front of us right now. I played it in the last hour.
Well,
excuse me. So Lee had said she had dealt with this for years and years. She struggled with it. But she felt empowered after the reporters came and met with her, and she said, I can't keep this a secret anymore. I have to tell my story. So it's not her mother, a third party, Lee herself.
According to her mother, she said it was driven by the Washington Post. But here's the deal. We've got all kinds of baseless accusations. Let's look at the facts. There's one piece of evidence which doesn't prove any guilt, but there's supposedly a signature in a yearbook. What did Gloria Allred do? She says, well, here it is, but I'm not going to show it to you. There's a way to prove what's going on right now and put it all to rest.
What do you
all Gloria had? let me just issue
Janet, you're having a conversation about Gloria Allred right now. We're actually trying to have a conversation about Roy Moore. And I get your point, but we've already said when you talked about Gloria Allred's client, we brought up Lee Corfman, and you're going back to Gloria Allred. So I guess my point is,
well, you've got allegations without proof. Now, if we were going to try people in a court of public opinion in the media, well, then the lacrosse players from Duke would be in jail today. That's not how it works. We are innocent until proven guilty. But what I call, let's solve the whole thing right now. I call on Gloria Allred to release the book, or admit that you're just a shill for the anti-Moore campaign. You know, if you withhold evidence, you should frankly be disbarred. And that's the issue right here. The evidence, the single shred of evidence, is a forgery. And by the way, I've got a hint for next time. If you want to forge something, you want to pretend that this is a signature from Judge Roy Moore from 1977, Don't add on the initials from his assistant in 1999. That's not the way you're going to win a case. No wonder she doesn't want to show the yearbook. Let's look at the facts.
Right,
Let's
Janet,
look at the evidence. And that's what she's refusing to show us.
The impropriety that would have crossed the lines of the law isn't the one having to do with Beverly Young. It's actually the one having to do with Lee Corfman. So I get what you're trying to do here, and it's very savvy. But the fact is, this isn't Gloria Allred on trial or Beverly Young on trial. It's not even Roy Moore on trial. So I guess my question to you is, let's talk about the politics of this for a second. I'd appreciate it if we don't go back to Gloria Allred for a second. What is your reaction to the conversation we just had about the editorial that's in the 3 largest newspapers and AL.com denouncing Roy Moore and telling Alabamians not to vote for him?
Well, this is the thing I know. Not only about Judge Moore, he's not going to be bullied, he's not going to be bought. And the people of Alabama are the same way. They're not going to be fooled by the media. They're not going to be fooled by the baseless, evidence-less allegations. And they're going to come out and they're going to vote for him, I predict, in huge numbers. Why? Because he has a proven track record of being a good, godly, principled man every day in his 40-year public career. And you just can't fake that. Let me ask you something, Allie. If I were to ask you the question, have you stopped beating your wife? What would you say? You'd probably say, I've never beat my wife, right?
I
guess. What if my next question to you was, well, how do you feel about wife beaters? Do you think they should be network news anchors? No, all these other follow-up questions are absolutely false. They're irrelevant because you don't beat your wife.
Right.
And that's the case with Roy Moore.
Janet, so I guess, Janet, the question is,
accusations, they're baseless.
Janet, I got it. I appreciate what you're saying. I guess the point is, a lot of the defense that you've posed of Roy Moore, particularly about the fact that he was taken off the bench twice for what a lot of people in the country think was breaking the law as a judge, by the way, and what a lot of his supporters say was standing up for something that was against the law. It does speak to something about Roy Moore. You and I have different opinions about why Roy Moore was taken from the bench, but you continue to say that his breaking of the law twice and being removed is actually defensible.
I believe that, and the people of Alabama have believed that the reason Judge Moore, and it's pretty out there, that he said, I want the religious freedom to display the Word of God in the 10 Commandments. Nature and nature's God. Our whole declaration is that we're endowed by our Creator. I mean, you might want to take some white out to the Declaration of Independence, but still there. And so he wants to display what our laws are based on, and I think he's a hero, and the people of Alabama do too. So all the people who are trying to say he's going to lose, I would say, I hope you have a refundable deposit on that firework display, because I believe Judge Roy Moore is going to win because the people of Alabama trust him because he's trustworthy. That's way more trustworthy than the Washington Post and all those attorneys like abortion activist Gloria Allred, who is withholding evidence and should be disbarred unless she hands it over.
To make sure we get that in, separate from the Washington elite, you've got your own Alabama newspapers. Just before we go, because you do know Roy and you've known him for many years, Gadsden Mall. Roy Moore, is he allowed to go to the Gadsden Mall?
Here's the thing you all need to check.
No, ma'am, can you please answer the question?
I'm going to answer the question. The manager of the Gadsden Mall said it's completely false. You know, y'all wonder why people use the terms fake news. The Gadsden Mall, he was never thrown out of it. I mean, we've got to look at the evidence, and that's why we need to not have this media circus to try and condemn an innocent man. We're basically watching a remake of the movie that Gloria Allred had in 2011 against Herman Cain. It's almost the identical script. We've seen it against Clarence Thomas. We've seen it against the lacrosse, Tawana Brawley. I mean, if we want to base who's innocent and who's guilty on who should get an Academy Award, that's not how elections are run. And the good news is the people of Alabama are going to be the ones deciding, and not the media circus, not the Washington establishment.
We appreciate you joining us. I just want to make sure I have it when we leave. So you're saying he's never been banned from the Gadsden Mall, and as an adult,
not according to the manager of the Gadsden Mall. He should know.
And as an adult in his 30s, he never dated women who are minors under the age of 18.
He never dated an underage woman, and he never engaged in any sexual misconduct, period. The end.
All right, Janet Porter, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Janet Porter is a longtime friend
appreciate it.
of Roy Moore.